It's Big Board Sports with Roger Wyland on 104.5 The Team.
Tim Kurkjian every Friday morning here on Big Board Sports, sponsored by the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown, not far here from the Capital Region. People love going to the Hall of Fame. I know Tim Kurkjian does. We all do, and we love having Timmy on our show Friday mornings to break down the wonderful sport of baseball. Good morning, Tim Kurkjian. How are you?
I'm well, Roger. How you doing?
Not bad, man. I'm in Little League All-Star Baseball mode right now.
Well, I love that mode. I was in that mode a long time ago with my son. I umpired a million games growing up. When I was a kid, I played a million games, Little League. So you're right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's all good.
Did you ever throw anyone out as an ump, Tim?
No, I didn't. But as a young umpire, a 16-year-old umpire in, little kids' games, although some of the kids were only a little bit younger than me, I had some interesting arguments with some adults.
Oh, I can imagine.
16 years old. Fortunately, I knew what I was doing, and a couple of the coaches didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know the rules, so eventually I won the argument because I explained the rule to them, and they agreed.
And as much as we try to tell everyone, listen, these are young kids umpiring some of the lower levels. Please just don't argue. Whatever they call. Move on. Not to the end of the world, but to some, Tim, as you know, it is the end of the world when it comes to winning and losing. All right, who's winning and losing this weekend, Tim? How even a series are we looking at here between the Yankees and the Red Sox? I know this. These two teams have not been separated by more than 2.5 games all season long.
Yeah, this has been a historic season already for these two teams, separately and head-to-head. I mean, there's never been a time, basically, that these two teams were as good as they were in early May, and these two teams were basically as good as they are now in late June. Neither one of these teams has ever won 100 games in the same season. I think that's where we're headed, and I'm not sure. It's been a while since these two teams at the same time had this many good players, so many of them great young players. That's why this rivalry has taken on even more significance, because the greatness of the teams and the future of both of these teams.
Who do you give the edge to pitching? And start tonight, Rodriguez Sabathia, and we know what Aaron Boone did, and I'm not a fan of it, but he got a couple of extra days rest for CeCe, so he was ready to roll, and I thought they threw the game away in Philadelphia tonight with Luis Sessa on the mound, but that's just me overthinking it a little bit. Do you think that backfires tonight, or do you think that move by Aaron Boone pays off against Eduardo Rodriguez and the Red Sox?
Well, when you have an aging pitcher, especially in this day and age, the really smart thing to do, I think now, is to give them extra rest, because we have conditioned our pitchers today to not be workhorses, to need an extra day. So whenever there's an opportunity, I'm all for it. You don't give a game away by starting Sessa, but it's tricky. And this is where managers are challenged now like really never before, as we try to keep pitchers healthy and try to figure out what to do with rotation. So I think this is all going to work out for the Yankees one way or another, because their pitching is just fine.
Tim Kurkjian with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team ESPN Radio, and he joins us every Friday morning at 10:30, brought to you by the National Baseball Museum and Hall of Fame. Tim, do you think we will see anything out of the Yankees pitching this weekend, or learn anything about the Yankees pitching this weekend? And I'm speaking specifically mostly about Sabathia and Gray, that will lead us to believe, okay, Brian Cashman's now going to make maybe even a bigger play for a starting pitcher as we get to the deadline.
Well, I'm not sure it matters what Sabathia and Sonny Gray do this weekend. I think Brian Cashman is looking for a deep quality starting pitcher and not just a fourth guy. He's got plenty of fourth starters. He needs somebody after Luis Severino, assuming Tanaka doesn't come back as a real good number two. I think Brian Cashman will look everywhere for the best possible pitcher. That's not to say he's going to find him, but he's going to look everywhere. And even if Gray and Sabathia are really good, I'm just not sure this Yankee rotation, as constituted now, can outpitch or beat the Red Sox or the Astros in the playoffs. Now, all sorts of things can happen, but I think to be completely sure in a World Series or bust atmosphere, they're going to have to go get somebody else, and I think they will.
Tim, just seeing this right now, that the Yankees are promoting infielder Brandon Drury from AAA. He will be active tomorrow night against the Red Sox. That makes sense to you with some issues, at least at first base for the Yankees and Greg Bird not hitting?
Absolutely. Brandon Drury is a major league player. He belongs in the major league. He is a gym rat of the highest order when it comes to baseball. He can help you at third, he can help you at first, and he can help you coming off the bench. And everybody needs bench these days, especially with these short benches. And you win in October with bullpen and bench, and that's where the Yankees are headed. So get Drury back to the big leagues, get him some at-bats so he becomes a good, useful player again. That simply wasn't going to happen in AAA or sitting on the bench all the time. He's going to have to play a little bit here and there.
Tim, I can't think of, at least in my memory, but you rack your brain, it's better than mine, an example of J.D. Martinez's career path. A bad Astros team at the time, when they decided they didn't have a spot for him, picked up by the Tigers as kind of a flyer, and then his career and the power numbers have absolutely taken off. Can you give us some kind of perspective on just what J.D. Martinez has turned himself into here? I would say the MVP frontrunner right now in the American League.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a perfect comparable for a guy who was released by the Astros. The only one, I'm certainly not there yet, is David Ortiz. Let's not forget, the Twins basically DFA'd David Ortiz after a decent season. I think he hit 15 homers or so. But they said, you can go now, and the Red Sox picked him up, and they didn't know what they had at the time. Even that first year, they weren't sure how they were going to use him, but he just kept getting better and better and became, of course, Big Papi at 500 homers and is one of the three greatest Red Sox ever. And Martinez has a way to go there, but that's the only comparable I could think of a guy who was just cast aside and became one of the best power hitters in the game.
Well, bouncing off Chris here and staying with the power, who do you give the edge to in terms of power between the Yankees and the Red Sox? To me, it's pretty darn even. Even though you got Judge and Stanton, I mean, you got Betts and Martinez, and throw in Benintendi as well.
Yeah, I like the Yankees' power a little bit better, but this turnaround by the Red Sox has been remarkable. They were last in the league in home runs last year, and I think they're second in the league right now. And J.D. Martinez, of course, has a lot to do with that. He had more homers before the end of June than any Red Sox ever. Think about that for a second. And he's added the power and, made everyone else in the lineup better because they got to pitch around him a little bit. He's always there. And so I love the Red Sox offense. It might be better 1-9 even than the Yankees. But when it comes strictly to power, I think you have to take the Yankees because I think they're going to break the all-time home run record this year.
Yeah, and we get into that yesterday with Seattle. I think they're certainly ahead of pace to do that. Hey, one more from me, Tim. Red Sox trade for first baseman Steve Pearce from the Blue Jays. So you get 2 days, 2 moves. Boston added Brandon Phillips on Wednesday. What do you make of those? Are they good moves in your opinion by Boston?
Well, Steve Pearce is an excellent move. There's no doubt about that. He is a tough guy who gives you a great at-bat. He is a seasoned hitter who's been around in some pennant races before. He is right-handed, meaning on a day when Mitch Moreland needs a rest against a really difficult left-hander, Steve Pearce is there. He can also play the outfield, and he is not afraid. So I love that move for the Red Sox.
Fair enough, Tim. Are you willing to make a prediction on this series? Who do you like to win this thing?
Well, here's my prediction. Both teams are really good, and both teams are going to play again in October, either against each other or against somebody else. And even though this series matters, because it always matters, these two teams are going to the playoffs, and all that matters is who's going to win the division and who's going to win the wild card, which is what makes this so great. Is this race to the end in the East will be tremendous because nobody wants a part of that one-game playoff.
That's it. I mean, it's like, right, they're going to face each other again, so whoever wins this series, it's not going to make or break, but so important because one of these teams will have that one-game elimination wild card, and you don't want to be that team.
Absolutely not. No team has ever won 100 games and played in the wild card game. It's only been since 2012, but I think we're looking at this year with the American League East with one of these two teams, which again makes this series this weekend really important and every series after this one also.
Tim Kurkjian, have a great weekend. As always, we appreciate your insight, and we'll talk to you this time next week.
Okay, guys. See you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. Tim Kurkjian, ESPN baseball analyst, and